So the Waterford GAA Strategic Plan 2021-2030, Waterford Rising, has been released today. And to discuss this, I'm joined by three members of the committee: County Board Chairman Sean Michael O'Regan, Chief Executive of Waterford City and County Council Michael Welsh, and former Dacia hurling captain Fergal Hartley. And Sean, just to start with yourself, congratulations on the publication of the report. It's a very comprehensive 32-page document covering 6 different areas of Waterford GAA. First of all, what do you hope to achieve with this plan over the next 10 years?
Thanks, Tomas. I suppose first and foremost, I'd like to just sincerely thank everybody that has worked so hard to get to the strategic plan, the Rising as we call it, to where it is tonight. And it's hugely positive feedback that we're getting, which is great. You know, we went through with our clubs and we went through with our executive officers, so it's hugely positive. Where we want to go, Tomas, I suppose the Rising is about, you know, I suppose in our heads, it's kind of the transformation, a kind of a change. There's as you saw there, the 6 pillars that we spoke about or in the document, that we feel that, you know, if we can change those in a positive way and work on those very hard, all the areas, all the people, all the clubs working together in a positive way to try and change all aspects in those areas, I think that's what we want to try and achieve. And if we can be successful in that, we feel that the future for Waterford GAA in all those areas will be very, very bright. And we look forward to, you know what I mean, the end of all the goals. And maybe in 2030, if we were to achieve all of those, Waterford GAA would be in a very, very good place.
Yeah, and we're going to focus on some of those over the next 15 minutes or so. Michael, I want to turn to you on the issue of facilities. Obviously, there will be big interest among Waterford fans with the plans for Welsh Park. What can you tell us about those?
Well, I suppose, Luke, what we can say, Tomas said that Waterford GAA is determined to make Welsh Park happen in the first instance, and make it happen over the next short number of years, hopefully. But we do recognise, and everybody has to recognise, that we're in a fairly changed world in terms of GAA finances and otherwise. For example, the indications are good in terms of the sports capital monies, which is very favourable. And Sean and the lads have been engaging at national level on this issue, and there's an absolute determination to progress it. What we want to make happen is that this gets delivered on a phased basis, maybe starting next year, 2022, and then over 3 or 4 subsequent years that it gets finished, and that we finish it to a standard that we can all be proud of, we make sure that it's best in class of its type, could even be reduced a little in terms of its spectator capacity. But what we do want is for it to be a niche stadium, best in class, making a really good impression in the area and being a phenomenal customer experience for families, children, future GAA people, and indeed any friends of the GAA in Waterford for a long time to come.
For Waterford supporters listening in, Michael, can you describe what the new Welsh Park will look like?
That's somewhat difficult to do, but I think what it'll look like and what to focus, there's an oversight group have been appointed to really look at this. And I think the intention is to reconfigure it a little bit over the current design, but it's not absolutely tearing it apart at all, but reflecting the current circumstances, that we do it on a phased basis, but do it really, really well. The emphasis being on the quality here, and that we ensure that from the point of view of its architectural presentation on the streets here, on what is Keynes Road and Slieve Keel, to historical routes in Waterford City with a whole host of people passing it every single day of the week, that we get the advantages from those streets and the junctions thereon absolutely right, so that we're presenting a good face and it's a really good imposition in the area rather than a positive one rather than a negative one, if you know what I mean. And that it presents itself as a welcoming space, so that when people attend here, that they're met with quality from the first minute that they interface with the place. And then internally, we simply want it to be a really good, comfortable experience for families primarily, because if you satisfy families, generally you'll satisfy everybody, is the reality. So we want to have a bit of space internally, not be squeezed in terms of an absolute squeeze to get as many people in the door. It's about ensuring that we get significant numbers, niche quality stadium, but that the experience is absolutely first class and best in class. There's no reason. Croke Park is a great example in many respects. It was done on a phased basis. It ended up being a world-class stadium, and there's no reason that the ambition should be any less here. but slightly reflecting the different scale here, that it'd be a niche 12 to 13,000 seater stadium that would be absolutely best in class.
You mentioned there the capacity, Michael, between 12 and 13,000. I think that's down from the original figure of 16. Can you tell us about what changes have been made to the original plans, if you can?
Well, there's only limited changes, and we're looking at reconfiguration at the moment, and there'll be a design team ultimately appointed to conclude this, and there's an oversight group equally looking at it. The reality is that as it's configured at the moment, there's a significant building development on the city end. And the intention is possibly to leave that out for the moment and to keep the city end for potentially additional capacity in the future, actually. And the intention then would be to develop the north stand, which is what would be the open stand, across from the existing stand at the moment, and the Keynes Road stand, as well as upgrading the existing stand on the Slieve-Keel Road side. In terms of what's left out, or otherwise there isn't anything being left out, it's just being slightly reconfigured. Hope to make the pitch a little bit bigger and wider in reality, but equally just reconfiguring to ensure that quality is going with every element of it.
Sean, I might bring you in terms of the funding of the Welsh Park project. Obviously, we've seen during the week the difficulties that the GAA is having at national level, a deficit of 34.1 million euros. Can you tell us at the moment, what is the estimated cost of the Welsh Park redevelopment?
Yeah, like I said, we'll be going through tomorrow a cost appraisal and the project oversight team, but we're probably, if you look back at the strategic plan document, we're also looking at other facilities as well in the county, but we're talking in the region of probably between, taking in inflation or whatever, and by the time to start and to finish, between 10, 11 and 12 million, 10 and 11 million we'd probably be suggesting, for Welsh Park. And
you'll obviously need, Sean, the support of clubs as well. Will clubs be levied to fund the work at Welsh Park, do you imagine?
Well, I'm not going to get over how the payment plan will be or anything like that, Tom Moss, at the moment, and we'll discuss that. But what I will say is, strategic goal there, you saw it yourself, number 6. So a major change and a major shift in Waterford GAA circles is the financial sustainability goal that we've set up there. So we have a commercial arm that are up and running now as well. So between looking at all revenue streams that are coming into Waterford GAA and improving and looking at increasing different types of revenue streams in Waterford GAA, that's where we feel that we'll have the confidence to do that. Obviously, as well, Tomas, they're obviously going to have to be central funding, and Munster Council are part of the stakeholder of us with Welsh Park as well. So we have had dialogue with those people over the last couple of months. Obviously, COVID again has probably slowed down those talks. And again, yes, you're right, nationally, Croke Park figures were released there recently enough. So that's why the phasing of Welsh Park is equally important as well. That, the funds probably won't be there immediately. They're not there immediately. But by the time we start and with the financial arm up and running as well, that funds will hopefully come, and then we'll always have to look at all other aspects of revenue as well.
Yeah, and there's also plans as well for Harfield as well, Sean, the development of a 4G pitch as well, and you're also looking to extend the long-term relationship with the WIT Arena as well. Can you tell us about that briefly?
Yeah, I mean, look, for Harfield, it's a fabulous venue in West Waterford. It's an absolutely, the setting itself is brilliant. It's fabulous. It's really kind of a town country feel, and Fergal needs to be developed as well. The showground yourself, Tomas, at the back of the stand there. It's a fine area there. So we're looking at putting in an AstroTurf in there as well in years to come. That basically, the development squads, the schools of the area, the clubs of the area, the training of teams and whatever. It'll be a serious, valuable asset to Waterford GAA, and especially in West Waterford. And with regards to WIT, the facilities there. Let's be honest about it, the WIT facilities in Carriganore were extremely privileged to have such a facility in Waterford. It's definitely best in class. So we just need to, again, explore options there with that to make sure that our county teams and our development squads and our clubs, so just to use that asset that we have at our doorstep in Waterford City to the best of our ability.
Fergal, Hartley, I want to bring in on the area of coaching and games development. You're looking to introduce a Well Kids programme for 4 to 8-year-olds. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, again, Tomas, like everything, I suppose we considered many options in terms of what we needed to do in the space of games development, and we identified a small number of key projects, one of which is Well Kids. which we hope can be transformative. Well Kids, effectively, as I say, it's new, it's unique to Waterford GAA. It'll be a new branded as Well Kids Inception programme. I suppose we're looking at it from perhaps a slightly different lens than it's been traditionally looked at in GAA terms, which is that it's not necessarily about training and skill development. It's about attracting as many 4 to 8 year old kids to the GAA family as we possibly can, and then once we get them, ensure that they really, really enjoy the experience and that they're retained, that they come back. And that's the key piece, is that we attract as many people to the GAA as we possibly can. They enjoy the experience and they want to come back the following week. And what's different about Well Kids, I suppose, in terms of traditional nursery programs, is that it's going to be completely centred around fun-based activities that are not necessarily always GAA skills development drills, if you like, right? So it'll be significantly different in terms of its look, its feel, its collateral, the equipment that will be used. I suppose the traditional nursery is based around a simple concept of balls and slitters and bibs and cones, and we're looking to shift the dial and change that significantly.
I suppose, Fergal, there has been concern with regard to the drop-off in terms of underage results in both hurling and football in Waterford. We had that minor under-21 success under Sean Power, but there has been, I suppose, a decline in recent years. What work is being done to address that in this strategic plan?
Well, I suppose some of the other recommendations, there's been huge work done on the Academies of Excellence, I suppose, by Jason Ryan, and I suppose set up originally by McDonagh, and Jason Ryan is now heading up the Academies of Excellence and has done huge work in terms of reviewing and overhauling those and making them, again, best in class, best in the country. I suppose to support that and to complement that, we're introducing what we call Schools of Excellence. I suppose 5 school clusters, whereby, again, we're hoping that we'll broaden the base as much as we possibly can, and as many kids in that space from under 13 to under 17 have exposure to excellence in terms of coaching, in terms of mentoring, in terms of standards, in terms of best practice and scientific developments in the spaces of nutrition, athletic development and so on. So the whole purpose here, Tomas, would be, for example, at under 14 grade, whereas in your typical academy, you might have 48 players, which is what the intention will be. In terms of our Schools of Excellence, there will be upwards of 150 kids at that age potentially exposed to best practice.
Just looking at the heading of adult competition structures, and I don't know, does Michael or Sean want to take this question, but you're looking to put in place an all-county CCC with responsibility for county and divisional fixtures from 2023. What will this mean for the Eastern and Western boards?
Yeah, I can take that, Tomas. Basically, yeah, I mean, look, we looked at it from a strategic point of view and putting in place an all-county CCC. We've got 50 clubs, and what we want to try and do here, the main reason for this is to have one coordinated body that will look after all of the fixtures to ensure, that our games and the appointment of officials and everything is run in a very smooth transitional way. And what it's all about is really getting clarity for clubs and for players or whatever when they're playing and so on and so forth, and to maximise everything in that whole area. We see that there'll be limited impact on the operation of the divisional boards. Also in that adult structures piece, Tomas is setting up a task force that will be established to examine all the championship structures. You know what I mean? So that's going to be set up in the very near future. In the next week or so, we'll have that in place, and they will be looking at and coming back with further recommendations. There's so much happening and so much changing in the club scene, as you saw. 2020 was a very difficult year for clubs, and equally so 2021 is going to be very difficult. And then the club season is going to be, will the split season between club and county be here and here to stay from 2022 on? So it's the right thing to do. We feel to have a look at all our structures and all our competitions and to have one overviewing body to maximise everything to make a smooth and running of our championships to the best that we possibly can. Michael,
just looking at the commercial side of things, I think in the report itself, John Maloney states that Waterford's financial position can be described as being in a holding pattern or fragile, and the target in the report is to generate 10 million in commercial and fundraising income by 2025. How do you hope to achieve that?
the key in terms of that is ultimately to professionalise the commercial fundraising arm of the organisation. Those counties that are succeeding best in this area have done so on the basis of really approaching it in a professional manner, identifying the strengths that we have, identifying what potential partners might want from us, and to really drive that whole area of partnership, and it is partnership with commercial entities. So what has been put in place is very simple in many respects. There's a new commercial subcommittee which is formed, which is predominantly made up of people external to the GAA. I don't mean external to the GAA, but people that are their primary competency is probably in the industrial and enterprise area in the commercial space, and they're being brought to bring their skills to that area and to significantly change the game as a whole.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, slán go fóill.
Now you're hurling. Lorna Porca with Tomás McCarthy on WLR.